Friends, we got so much stuff to talk about today, it's absolutely crazy. For instance, might Trump, now that he's releasing the JFK files, release also UFO files? Then we have incredible footage to talk about. Yes, we're going to review very fascinating UAP footage. We have Representative Tim Burchett saying some very interesting things about UFOs. And then we have even more interesting footage to review and to talk about. Then the new interview with Jake Barber. And much more, friends, much more. Hi and welcome to Chasm. I'm Sebastian, your host, so let's start. So this is an official tweet of the White House. President Trump orders historic transparency, JFK, RFK and MLK files to be declassified. And to this, Chuck Schumer, the former Senate Majority Leader, had this to say: now do UFOs. So does that mean that Trump is going to release all the UFO files, all the secrets that the US government might have about UFOs, about crashed UFOs? Are we going to learn everything about the Roswell crash? Are we going to learn everything about the 1953 Aztec UFO crash? Are we going to learn everything about these crashed retrievals that Jake Barber, Lou Elizondo and David Grush have been talking about? Are we going to learn about the biologics that the US has recovered? Are we going to learn everything about all those secrets? I personally think that the secrecy surrounding UFOs is probably a few layers, a few orders of magnitude above the JFK files, and it's much more compartmentalized, much more embedded in different agencies, and so I think it's much harder to declassify. You can maybe declassify certain aspects, but I'm not sure even what Trump even knows about the topic. So I'm not even sure if he can declassify this. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Trump will be able to do about the subject of UFOs. We know he has a bit of an interest. He has talked about UFOs a few times. And he also has said not long ago that he's going to look into the matter of the New Jersey drones. So he said that he will declassify or find out what the New Jersey drones are very early into his office, which hasn't happened yet, but just a few days ago he has said that he's looking into that matter. So let's see what's going to come out of this. That's just my opinion, I personally think he probably can't declassify the UFO files because there are so many different files and it's such a huge mess with different levels of security. It's crazy. I don't think he can just declassify it. That's just my opinion. But I think that now the right people are in place within the Trump administration that could in theory make it happen. So the chances that in the next 4 years we are going to learn new things about the things that the US government has learned about UFOs in the last 80 years, that those things will come to light and will be made public, the chances for this, in my opinion, are now much higher than they were probably ever in recent history. So it's very interesting. I really hope something will come of this. Making the JFK files publicly available is a very good step, a step into the right direction. And I can't wait to see what's going to be learned. I think the CIA will probably be involved somehow, but let's see. We're living in interesting times, so I cannot wait to see what's going to come out of this, friends. These are interesting developments. And now to interesting footage, friends. You won't believe it. But a New Jersey mayor releases video supposedly showing a glowing white orb turning into a mechanical drone. Let's have a look, friends. This is quite crazy, okay? This is crazy. But the funniest thing is that this recording is apparently from the future. So it will be recorded on the 28th of January, 2025. Okay, obviously this has to be a mistake. This is a date error of some sort, but Therefore, I don't know when this was recorded, but this was recorded at some point, probably in the last week or so in New Jersey, by this mayor, a mayor of a small town in New Jersey. And this is what he recorded. Let's have a look, friends. Okay, so we see a pretty bright, well, light orb, as we could say. It looks like an orb, right? It looks like a big ball of light. So you will rightfully say, hey, this is an orb. This is a legit orb. And now, what's happening now? Oh, it's transforming. It's transforming. It's transforming into an airplane. Friends, it has happened. It has happened. It has transformed. Okay. Now this is interesting footage in itself because we can learn something from it, friends. And you will not believe how many people, friends, I'm very thankful for emails that I'm receiving, because we have gotten legit some fascinating footage of UAPs, which I analyzed in the last weeks. But I also get a lot of the same type of footage where you have a very bright light, which looks very impressively bright, very impressive, like wow, impressively bright light, right? And then suddenly it transforms into an airplane. But does it really transform though? Does it really transform? Or is this again one of those damn optical effects that we're always dealing with, that always, destroy our beautiful UAPs, because this damn optics always comes and kind of rains on our parade? So friends, what is happening here in reality, okay? I don't want to be the bearer of bad news again, but this is an effect known as overexposure. So if you have a very bright light, again, an airplane, when it comes towards you, is very bright. I live near an airport, okay? When I look out of my window, I sometimes see this phenomenon myself. The airplanes, when they fly towards my direction, look super bright. Like, I'm like, wow, this looks like an orb. And then they turn away, and then it becomes super dim. And some cameras now have a setting that they have an overexposure, okay? They overexpose certain light sources that are much brighter than the rest. So we can see here, this one light source is much brighter than the other light sources, right? You can see this, it's much brighter. These light sources here are much dimmer. So what happens, the camera sensor, the pixel sensor, the CMOS sensor, it overexposes this light source, and then it appears huge, it appears insanely bright. And then when the airplane turns, makes a, 90-degree turn towards the direction, the light becomes very dim, it vanishes, and then it looks as if this orb would have transformed into an airplane, friends. But this is, unfortunately, I'm sorry, but this is not the case. This is an airplane that has always been an airplane, but due to an optical effect, it looks as if it has transformed. And this is another piece of footage that was recorded by that said mayor, okay? This time in the past, okay? 15th of January. And here we see again something very similar. Don't ask me why it looks pink or like it has a violet kind of hue, the picture. I have no idea why, but we see the same phenomenon again, friends. This supposed orb has transformed into an airplane, but unfortunately in reality it was always an airplane. But just again, due to the overexposure of the smartphone, it looks as if it is an orb. But in reality it's not an orb, friends. It's not an orb. It's just optics and the workings of these camera sensors. That is why it is so important to understand. That's why I'm stressing this very often. It's important for us to understand how this stuff works, friends, because if not, people like Mick West and the debunkers will have an easy game destroying the UAP topic, okay? They will have an easy game. With such things, we make it easy for them to make fun of the UAP topic. See, that's the reason why I'm so strict here, because, you know, I want to debunk what is debunkable. But if it's not debunkable anymore, then the logical consequence is that it has to be a UAP, a real UAP. But I want to be strict because I want to take the wind out of the sails from the debunkers. Friends, that's why I'm strict, not because I enjoy taking down this sort of footage. I don't enjoy it. And you know that I've said many times, we've analyzed some videos together where I said, okay guys, this is a real UAP. This is probably a craft built by an advanced non-human intelligence. But I will say, if it's not so, then I will also say it. And it's important to be like this because that allows us to take the wind out of the sails of people like Mick West and the debunking squad, you know, the trolls and so on and so forth, because they will have easy game then. Okay, they will have easy game when you have people who legitimately say like, oh God, this is an orb transforming. It kind of drags the UAP topic, unfortunately, friends, a bit into a bad light. Okay? We must be very vigilant and we must employ critical thinking, and we must also know our physics. It's important to know our physics, friends. It's important to know optics. It's important to know exposure. It's important to know, you know, basic physics in order to understand how UAPs might work and to get rid of the 95% noise. We want to improve the signal to noise ratio, friends. That's why I'm so strict, and I'm sorry that I again showed you some examples of footage that looks amazing at first, but turns out to be pretty damn mundane, okay? And then this gets picked up by News Nation, and I love News Nation. I think News Nation is important and amazing for what they are doing, for pushing forward disclosure, okay? They are advocating for disclosure. So Ross Coulthard is working for News Nation. He makes amazing, you know, documentaries. He interviews very important people. So I'm very happy that News Nation exists, but sometimes News Nation, I have news for you. Sometimes News Nation is wrong. Sometimes they make mistakes and they pick up this story and they say like, oh man, look here. We have like orbs transforming into drones.
You know, what residents there are saying, what your constituents are telling you. What do you think is going on in the skies?
I mean, it's tough. Every time I see a video, my opinion seems to change. I mean, I've recently been watching and spent some time.
I think this is the mayor in question who has recorded these videos that we've seen before. Belleville, New Jersey.
A videographer out of Long Island. I mean, he has orbs, these glowing orbs of light on camera that as you watch them right before your eyes, they seem to transform into a mechanical drone. So I've actually watched it myself where these orbs are glowing balls of light, different blinking lights all over the place. And as it gets closer to you, you actually see it transform into a drone. Whether it's a drone from the beginning and it's being obstructed by bright light, I can't tell you, but it is cause for concern.
Here, he said it himself. He said it himself. Whether it's just appearing as a bright light and then actually it has been a drone all along or an airplane all along, he can't tell you, but it's cause for concern. Okay, but we see, friends, we have to be super careful because then the debunkers and skeptics, they pick this up and they say like, oh, look, you made this one mistake, so probably you're making mistakes all the time, right? So probably there's nothing to the UAP topic. So because you make this one mistake now, such an easy, obvious mistake, probably you're making mistakes all the time. Probably you guys are stupid and the UAP topic is one huge, giant joke. See, that is the argumentation of many skeptics and many debunkers. But the problem is, sometimes it really is a misattribution, but sometimes it isn't. And there is this core, I always keep repeating, 5% of all UAP cases, this core of very hard cases that you simply cannot debunk. And this, friends, this is what we're after here. This is what we're after. And now I want to show you something that Representative Tim Burchett has said recently in an interview, which I personally found highly interesting, friends, highly interesting. Let's listen to what he has to say.
A lot of these UAP sightings are over water. Do you think there's anything to that and the basing concepts that you were laying out?
I do. When I've talked to people, or their sonar people, and the way they hide it from us, Matt, they say it's because our sonar, I believe, I haven't been briefed on this, I'm just from what I'm putting together, but we have some secret sonar. But what's so crazy about it, like we're hiding it from the Chinese. Well, heck, Matt, the Chinese sold us the components for it. They know it's in our sonar probably better than we do. But when they tell me something's moving at hundreds of miles an hour underwater, and our capabilities are, I don't think we have anything that'll do 40 miles an hour. And these things, this one was large as a football field underwater. And this was a documented case. And I have an admiral telling me this stuff. And it just, to me, yeah,
so that's where you think the bases are, is underwater then, because of those reports?
I do. I just think traveling light years, I think it happens. I think it's possible. The vastness of God's great universe. I mean, light years, you know, the light from those stars that we see at night left there before the time of Christ. I mean, the vastness of God's great universe is unreal. Yeah. And I'm not worried about them harming me. I mean, if they, with that capabilities, they would have barbecued us a long time ago, brothers.
So I find it really interesting what he said. He believes that the NHI have set up a base or multiple bases underwater. And I think I agree, because so many observations speak about USOs, so unidentified submerged objects, turning into UFOs and vice versa. So they enter the water, they come out of the water at very high speeds, they have the capability to travel underwater at extremely high speeds. And there's actually, I think Lou Elizondo said it in his book Imminent, there was a case where he saw a video of an object, which is unfortunately a classified video. I hope it will be released one day, where you saw an oil rig. Okay, you saw an oil rig, and there was an object traveling below the oil rig, which was larger than the oil rig itself, much larger than the oil rig itself, traveling at, I know he said like, probably like the speed of sound. I know hundreds of miles per hour, okay, below the oil rig in the water. So these objects are known to have transmedium capabilities, and they are not affected by the presence of water, which, as we know, makes sense because their propulsion system allows them to travel within water as if it wasn't there, because their propulsion system is just such that it can bend space-time, so it does not really need to push stuff away because it just bends it around them. It just bends it around like a fluid. Imagine space-time like a fluid, it just bends it around them. So they have this capability, and if I was a very advanced non-human intelligence, I don't know, I'm an extraterrestrial civilization coming here from very far away, but I would like to explore Earth. I would like to, you know, conduct some scientific research, see what those funny humans are up to these days. Where would I set up a base? Well, underwater, deep in the ocean, is the most logical place. And there are many hotspots actually on this planet where a lot of USOs are being observed. And one such place is in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico, where, for example, the famous Aguadilla object was filmed, and many fishermen regularly see some super bright lights going in and out of the water. So there are some hotspots, and it does make sense that if you would be a very advanced alien civilization, that you would set up an underwater base here. Now friends, here's a piece of footage that I wanted to show you, because if this is legit, this is amazing. I don't know when it was recorded. I assume it was recorded recently because I have never seen it before. It was just recently posted on Reddit, and it looks legit. It looks legit. Let's have a look what we can see.
And like I said, I'm recording this literally through my iPhone. I'm moving the camera. Like this. These objects are, they look to be round shaped, and it's really weird. It's like a fleet. They're not weather balloons, they're not planes. Definitely not helicopters or drones. It's around 5 p.m. Holy. Did you see this? Look at the speed that thing did. This is insane. What the?
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow, this object here, like, look at the acceleration here now. Whoop. This one is leaving the formation.
This is insane. What the?
Whoop. Crazy speed. Instantaneous acceleration. That's what we want to see. I will not exclude the possibility that this has been staged or that this is faked, because I just find it a bit suspicious. The resolution is kind of low for today's iPhones, I have to say, okay? It is kind of low. And also like the constant shaking, So I will not exclude the possibility that this has been faked. But I think it could be real. It could be real. And the instantaneous acceleration, okay, that one here, yeah, that instantaneous acceleration is really interesting. Really interesting. Whoop. Now, in order to find out if this is fake or not, we would have to find irregularities. And if I zoom in here with enhanced contrast, we would need to find if these objects move in accordance with the shaking of the camera. If they do, then I think the footage is legit. If they don't, then I think the footage is fake. But it seems to be kind of in accordance with the shaking of the camera. So if you look at the branches here, you can see the shaking of the branches is more or less in line with the shaking here of these objects. Here is that moment when this object starts moving at a very high speed. It looks very impressive and then suddenly stops. But as I said, it could still be fake, but a very well done fake. Very well done. So I will try to image stabilize this video, and then we will analyze it in a future video episode to find out if this footage here is legit or not. Now, a new interview with Jake Barber dropped on News Nation, and I would highly suggest to watch the interview. It is long. It is 2 hours and 47 minutes long. I've watched 2 hours and 10 minutes, so I'm almost through with it. But I can say it is extremely interesting, and some details are being shared that have not been shared yet in the smaller, shorter segment, which has been released a few days ago, where we saw the egg-shaped UAP. So I can highly recommend listening to it. For me, it paints the picture that Jake Barber is a very credible person. I can just reiterate my feelings from a few days ago, that I think that this guy is a quite legit person. I don't think he's lying. So, highly interesting interview. I can highly recommend watching it. I cannot react to it. I wish I could, but News Nation is pretty aggressive with their copyright stuff, as I found out. So I will not really react anymore to News Nation content by listening to it actively, but I will still talk about it, of course. Now, here's something interesting what Jay Stratton, the former director of the UAP task force, had to say, which is the UAP task force. So he was David Grush's former boss. And this is what he had to say. It's an excerpt from a new documentary, I think. The documentary is called Age of Disclosure, and I think it's going to air in March at the South by Southwest Festival. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing this documentary, and let's listen to what he has to say.
For over 16 years, on behalf of the U.S. government, I worked as a senior intelligence official on the unidentified aerial phenomenon topic. I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings.
Wow. So you see, it's getting more and more people who say they have seen with their own eyes craft, they have retrieved craft, they have worked on crash retrievals, they have worked on reverse engineering programs, they have seen with their own eyes even non-human beings. Pretty fascinating stuff, if you ask me. So it's getting more and more people that are coming forward. And Age of Disclosure, I love the title because I think we do live in the age of disclosure, and I think within the next 4, 5, 6, I don't know how many years, I think we are slowly getting step by step towards disclosure. I think we're getting there. Sometimes it's a bit disheartening how slow it is, and there are setbacks, right? It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But we are getting there. And for me, it was interesting to see what he had to say. David Grush's former boss. Now, I wanted to show you something funny regarding the 4chan egg. You know, the egg UAP that was supposedly found in a cave in Antarctica. And this story came out like, I don't know, 1 day after the egg-shaped UAP was revealed on News Nation. And I found this one pretty hilarious. So this is the 4chan egg, okay, of the supposed whistleblower. So this here is supposedly legit footage. And this is what a guy did in 15 minutes using Stable Diffusion, so AI generated software, plus Photoshop, plus photographed off a monitor. And it looks pretty freaking damn identical, I would say. So I was saying from the beginning, like, guys, it looks fake. The 4chan egg story, it looks fake. It looks like cheap CGI. Okay, it could also be AI generated, but it looked fake from the beginning. So yeah, that confirms my suspicion even more. Now here's something that Lou Elizondo had to say about the UAP retrieval footage that was aired on News Nation, because a lot of people are making fun of it. Predictably, I immediately said, guys, people are going to make fun of it, and people are going to say this is a staged operation and this is fake and so on and so forth. So let's just listen what Lou Elizondo has to say about it, because I think Lou Elizondo, it's always interesting to listen to what he has to say on the topic of UAPs, because he was involved, for God's sake, in a program at the Pentagon researching UAP. So I think he knows a bit about UAP. So it's always interesting to listen to what he has to say.
Something that's truly exotic, are you going to have people standing right below it touching it if you have no idea what the hell it is? You know, you're going to keep people at a distance, because if this thing has some sort of biological effect, negative consequence, because it's radioactive or something like that, it's emitting something, or maybe it's super hot, there's no way to tell. You don't know what temperature it is, right? So this is my frustration. We're like, well, there's no ground crew there. Well, because maybe you're not supposed to have a ground crew there. You know, I mean, if you have something that's particularly dangerous and no one knows what the hell it is, maybe that's not a great idea. So again, I'm not defending it, and I'm not attacking it. What I'm trying to say is that there's a whole lot of what ifs and questions regarding this, even this short little video, we have no idea about. And for people to just jump to a conclusion, I think it's premature.
That makes sense. That does make sense. Now here's a story, friends, that I wanted also to share with you. And it's one of those stories where I'm like, I don't exactly know if this is legit or not. I will just present you what is happening and you can judge for yourself, okay? It's about the Las Vegas incident where in 2023, night of April 30th, 2023, supposedly a craft landed in the backyard of a family in Las Vegas. And the family was super terrified and called the police, okay? They called the police. They saw this here in the sky, okay? This is the image of the supposed object that fell from the sky, okay? And the people there, you know, the residents there, who said like, oh God, something has landed in our backyard. They called the police, and this is the footage that we see that has been recorded from the police cam. Okay, that is police cam footage. Let's have a look, friends.
Everyone thought a shooting star. Then these people say there's aliens in their backyard. Remember that family in Las Vegas that claimed a UFO landed in their backyard and say they saw an alien? Well, if they decide to come back, the police want to have more evidence. They set up cameras in the yard of the family who made the original 911 call. Sources close to the investigation said they do not believe the call was a hoax.
Now, this is how the alien supposedly looked. It was very tall, okay, very tall, humanoid in shape. It basically looked like a tall gray. Maybe you are familiar with the grays, right? And supposedly there are not only small grays, but there are also tall grays, which are like, I don't know, 8 foot tall, almost 3 meters tall beings, which are very slender and look, super bizarre, of course. And this is what Bobby Kenmore drew, the boy who lives in the house where supposedly this craft landed and where one of these beings was to be seen. Then there's this piece of footage, friends, where they go into the backyard and they are terrified because they supposedly see some cloaked being, hiding somewhere. So let's see
the video that was recorded by
here.
That family in Las Vegas, and he applied his technology to try to debunk it. Here he is on his YouTube channel, Crime Scene, discussing what he calls the entity in the family's backyard.
We can take a video and look at whether or not there is an artificial artifact added to it or not. And in this case, we can definitively say, to a degree of scientific certainty, that this entity, this thing in the video, is there in the physical reality in which the Kenmore family is also there. Like, this is so critical because you can clearly see through the slots in the fence that there is a leg motion moving from the right to the left side of the screen. And clearly it is behind there. So this isn't just like a head floating in space. This is a head of that is somehow that does not have full opacity, that the opacity of the head of the shadow is only at about 33% opacity versus a normal shadow, which would be at 100% opacity, or an object in the screen, which is at 100%. And this isn't anything that you did. It's just what you were able to determine, that this shadow being, or this being in the shadows, possibly creating its own shadow or smoky filter or cloaking technique, is not only cloaking itself from the people there, but cloaking itself from the camera itself, in that it's minimizing our ability to identify pixels inside of that shadow.
That's crazy, friends. That's a crazy story. I never knew what to make of it, right? And now Jim Quirk, a reporter who runs the Quirk Zone channel on YouTube, has released enhanced footage that seems to show the presence of the beings on that particular location. And this is, friends, what we can see in this enhanced footage. So this supposedly shows the head of the creature, the head of this being. Look at this. Here you can see it as well. Here you can see it as well. Here with the outlines. So I never knew what to make of this story, friends. This is like one of those cases where it is so bizarre in some ways, but the family to this day, they still cling to their story, okay? They didn't say like, oh yeah, this was a hoax. They still cling to their story. The Kenmore, I think Kenmore family, was it Kenmore? Yeah, the Kenmore family. They still stick to their story, and they say they saw these, like, at least one tall gray being 8 foot tall, which supposedly can be seen
Like,
here,
this is so critical.
cloaked, in a cloaked manner. And this is the reconstruction here, where behind the fence you supposedly can see it. I always struggled, to be honest, friends. I always struggle to see it. I see some cloak, yeah, I see some shadow, but I have trouble seeing the full. I'm sorry, but I have trouble seeing the full alien, and I'm not sure if this is some optical artifact. I'm just not sure. This is one of those cases, friends, where I have no idea what to make of it. I seriously have no idea what to make of it. What should I have no idea. I like the story very much, and it has some stuff going for it, but then again, I just don't see the clear evidence here. But hey, I mean, if Roswell happened, and if the Aztec crash happened, and if Virginia in 1997 in Brazil happened, then who says that this is entirely out of the question? Who am I to say that the Kenmore family saw, had hallucinations or are hoaxers? Who am I to say this? So it's one of those cases, friends, where I cannot tell you that this is 100% fake or that this is a huge joke. The evidence, I would say like this: the evidence is not there for me, but that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. I don't want to be so arrogant as to say, oh, this is impossible, because I think the UFO, the UAP topic has its way of humbling us. We always think like, oh, this cannot happen, and then like the weirdest, most bizarre stuff possibly did happen, as we find out more and more now through all these revelations. You know, crash retrievals. A few years ago I was thinking like crash retrievals are the most ridiculous thing ever. Now I'm like, wait, so many whistleblowers come forward and say that crash retrievals actually do exist, and reverse engineering programs and all this stuff. So who am I to say this, you know? If this would happen to me, I would be baffled as well. So maybe there is something there, you know, maybe this shadow, maybe there is something there. Maybe it is a cloaked 8-foot tall gray being. I will not exclude this. So I wanted to share this with you because I found the final restored image of this gray being here. I found it kind of cute, and I wanted to show it to you. And you can think for yourself if this really did happen or not, friends. It's for you to decide. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We had a lot of footage today. We had a lot of interesting footage today, and a lot of interesting news stories to go through. I'm super fascinated by this topic. Every day some interesting new stuff happens. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks, a big thanks to our Patreons especially, who support this channel. You people are wonderful. And yeah, then have a wonderful day, and see you in the next video. Bye!